Hello friends, Namaskaram, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Edudamic. My name is Neha Shabdi and today we are going to discuss a new chapter in Cbse Class 10th English textbook, and the name of the chapter is the Sermon at Benares. Now we are going to go for the line by line explanation of this chapter along with the difficult word meanings. So let us begin. Before we are going to start this chapter, first let us analyze the heading, that is the Sermon at Benares. Sermon means it's a kind of religious talk or moral talk. And that particular religious or moral talk is happening at Benares. Benares is actually a popular city, an old popular city we can say, in UP, in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, then let us begin with the chapter. So first let us start with the first paragraph, that is Gautama Buddha. Gautama Buddha, 563 BC to 483 BC, began life as a prince named as Siddhartha Gautama in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures. 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. So it says that there was Gautama Buddha who actually born in 563 BC. BC means before Christ to 483 BC. He was having a royal blood. So he born as a prince. And at that time his name was known as Siddhartha Gautama. And he lived in the northern part of the India. Now, when he was 12 years old, he was actually sent for schooling. So, he was sent for schooling and he learned the Hindu sacred scriptures. Scriptures, we can say, it is a collection of books which is accepted as holy text. So, he actually learned about the Hindu holy text and he actually returned home after 4 years. He actually returned home and he married a princess. Now, after he got married, he actually got a son. They had a son. Now, he actually lived a life of royalty. Means we can say he actually lived a life of royal status for 10 years. So, for 10 years, he, along with his son, actually has a life of royalty. With royal status, with royal blood, he was actually living a life of royalty, with royalty. But when he was 25 years old, the prince, shielded from the sufferings of the world while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. So, what happened is that when he was actually 25 years old, the prince, here we are talking about Gautama Buddha, actually, chanced upon means he actually went for hunting, okay, when he was 25 years old. Now, when he went out for hunting, he actually chanced upon, the word meaning of chanced upon means by chance. Chance upon means by chance. So by chance he actually saw a sick man. He also saw an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. So when he saw all these things, he was a prince, right? So he was having a very happy life. He doesn't show sorrow in his life. But when he went for hunting, he saw all these people who is actually full of sadness, full of sorrow. And when he witnessed all these people, he actually the sights that he had seen actually touched his heart a lot. These sights actually moved him that he actually quit his royal status. Royal status means he quit his life as a prince. Okay, he quit his life as a prince and he actually went out for seeking enlightenment. So he actually these sight actually moved him. Then what happened, he actually once went out into the world. He actually quit his royal status and he went out into the world in order to seek enlightenment. Now, what is enlightenment? In search of truth. It's a kind of a state with high spiritual knowledge. You can see the word meaning over here. So he actually went into the world in order to seek for truth, in order to find out truth. So by witnessing all the sorrow, he actually went out into the world to seek enlightenment. Now let us see what happened. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. So it says that he actually wandered for 7 years. As I told you, he went out into the world to seek enlightenment. And in order to seek enlightenment, he was wandering around the world for nearly 7 years. And finally, he sat under a peepal tree. Now, peepal is a kind of tree, so he actually sat under the peepal tree. And he actually vowed means he made a solemn promise to vowed means to do a solemn promise to do a specified thing. So he actually solemnly promised that he would stay under this peepal tree until enlightenment came. So what he promised that he would sat under this peepal tree. He would sit under this peepal tree until enlightenment came. Now let us see whether enlightenment came or not. Enlightened after 7 years, 7 days, he renamed the tree the Bodhi tree, the tree of wisdom, and began to teach and to share his new understandings. At that point, he became to known as the Buddha, the awakened or the enlightened. Now, the Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares, most holy of the dipping place on the river Ganga. Now, the sermon has been preserved and is given over here. It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. So now what it's saying is that after 7 days, what happened? Enlightenment came. He became enlightened and he renamed the tree, that the peepal tree which he sat under, and when enlightenment came, what happened? He renamed the tree as the Bodhi tree. Now what do we mean by Bodhi? Bodhi tree is a tree which is full of wisdom, full of knowledge. What is wisdom means knowledge. What is wisdom means? The word meaning of wisdom is knowledge. So he renamed the tree as the Bodhi tree, that means the tree of wisdom. And he also began to teach. Now what happened? He actually began to teach as well as share his understanding, what he had got, what wisdom he had got. He began to share as well as teach his understanding. Okay, so he is giving to the people a lot of religious talks as well as lot of moral talk, which we call it as sermon, right? Now when he began to teach and share the people about what he understand, then at that point he actually was known as the Buddha, or we can say the awakened or the enlightened. Now he actually preached means he actually said or talked about his first sermon. First sermon is a sermon, we can say also a lecture on the basis of religion or moral talk. So he gave his first talk at the city of Benares near the river Ganga. We all know the river Ganga is known as the holy river for dipping place. As a bathing place, a holy bathing place is river Ganga as considered to be. Okay, and this particular sermon, his first sermon that he had given, is still now preserved. It is still now preserved, and that particular first sermon is actually talking, or it is actually reflecting the Buddha's wisdom, means Buddha's knowledge about the one inscrutable kind of suffering. So that first sermon is actually talking about Buddha's, the Buddha's Buddha's wisdom about the inscrutable kind of suffering. Inscrutable means it is a kind of suffering which people cannot understand. Inscrutable means something which cannot be understood. So Buddha, in the Buddha's first sermon, it is actually talking, or it is actually reflecting about the Buddha's wisdom. Buddha's wisdom means Buddha's knowledge about one kind of suffering that people cannot understand. And what is that suffering that people cannot understand? It is talking about death. What it is talking about? Death. This particular first sermon all started with Kisa Godami. Let us see about that story. Kisa Godami had only one son and he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine. And the people said she has lost her senses. The boy is actually dead. So what happened is that there was actually a girl known as Kisa Gautami, and she had just one son, and that son had died. And when that son had died, she was fully in grief. Grief means she was so sad. She was fully dipped in sorrow that she carried that dead child to all her neighbors, and all her neighbors, she carried the dead child and she asked her neighbors to give medicine to cure her child. But what did the people consider her to be? The people said that she had lost all her senses because the boy is actually dead. The neighbors tried to made her accept that the boy is dead, but she doesn't cure. Then she actually asked every person, every neighbors like for medicine. So at last Kisa Godami met a man who replied to her request. I cannot give thee medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can. So what did Kisa Godami finally met a man who actually replied to her request, and that man said that I cannot give you the medicine. Thee is actually, we can say, it is an old form of you. It's an archaic form of you. Thee means, T actually means you, okay, an old form of you, or we can say an archaic form of you. And time is yours, child. So I cannot give you the, I can. So the man said that I cannot give you the medicine, but he also said that I know a physician who can give you the medicine and cure your child. So the girl said, pray, tell me, sir, who is it? And the man replied, go to Sakyamuni, the Buddha. So what did the man said? The man said the girl to go to the Buddha, Gautama Buddha. So what Kisa Gautami did? Kisa Gautami repaired to the Buddha and cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. So she repaid means she actually went to the Buddha and she asked the Buddha, she cried and asked the Buddha to give her the medicine to cure her child. So what did the Buddha answer? The Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seed. And I want a handful of mustard seed. And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, the Buddha added, the mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend. So what is saying right now is that she actually go to Buddha. When she go to the Buddha, she repaid means she went to the Buddha and she asked the Buddha to give her the medicine that can cure her child. But Buddha answered that I want. See, he doesn't say that I cannot like that, but he said that I wanted a handful of mustard seed. Give me a handful of mustard seed. Handful means like the amount of mustard seed that can be fully get into our hand. That is a handful of mustard seed. So Buddha answered that I want a handful of mustard seed. So she actually with the girl, that is our Kisa Godami, actually promised in very joy because she becomes so happy that she found at last she actually found a cure for her dead boy, right? So what did she say? She did, she becomes so happy that she promised to procure. Now what do you mean by procure? Procure means to get. So she promised that she would actually get, or we can say obtain. Another meaning, like you can say obtain also. But she finally promised that I will actually bring the mustard seed. But Buddha added to his statement and he says that you have to bring that mustard seed from a house where there is no death has taken place. So what did he say? What did Buddha said? Buddha says that you have to bring this mustard seed from a house where there is no death. Death has never taken place. Like no child, you have to bring this from that house where no one has lost a child or a husband or a parent or a friend. So what did poor Kisa Godami did? Poor Kisa Godami actually now, what is it? Poor Kisa Godami now actually went from house to house, and the people pitied means actually felt very sorry for her, and they gave her the mustard seed. But when she asked, like, did a son or a daughter, a father or mother die in your family? They answered, alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief. And there was no house, but some beloved one has died in it. So what is now happening is that the poor Gisa Godami now she was actually wending house to house in search of a house where actually no one had died. Right. Then only she will be able to get that mustard seed. Then only she will be able to cure her child. But everyone feel very sorry to her and they give her the mustard seed. But she asked whether anyone, whether son or a father or mother actually died in your family. Then they replied that living are over here few, but dead are many. And they also said, do not remind us our deepest grief. So she finally found that there was no house where death has not taken place. So what happened? Kisa Godami became weary and hopeless and sat down at the wayside, watching the light of the city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. At last, the darkness of the night reigned everywhere, and she considered the faith of the man that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. And she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all. Yet in the valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality who has surrendered all selfishness. So, what is now happening is that the weary means get tired, to be tired. And what is the word meaning of any other hard word meanings over here? Wayside means a roadside. Wayside means roadside. So now what happened is that the Kisa Godami becomes so tired and so hopeless by wandering all the houses right in her neighborhood. And when she finally sat down the roadside. She sit near his in the roadside, and she's watching the lights of the city. So she was actually watching the light. So she found that the light sometimes is getting glowing up, flicker up, and sometimes they are extinguished again. And at last, what happened is that the darkness reigned. The word meaning of reigned is that rule. Then she found that the darkness reigned means ruled ruled everyone. So she actually associated that lights of the city as the faith of the man. She associated the light of the city to the faith of the man, and she said that the lives are also flickering up and they will extinguish again. And she finally understands that she is actually so selfish in her grief that she forgot to understand that death is common to all. And finally she understands that death is something which is actually common to all. Death is something which is actually common to all. But people are so selfish that they fail to understand it. Then what did Buddha say? Buddha said, the life of the mortals in this world is troubled, brief, and combined with pain, for there is not any means by which those who have been born can avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. Of such nature are living beings. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals were born and are always in the danger of death. As all the earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, so is the life of mortals. Both young and adults, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall in the power of death, and all are subject to death. So what did Buddha said? Buddha said that the life of mortals means life of the human beings or life of those people who are bound to die. We can say in short as the life of the human beings, because human beings are someone who actually bound to die. So life of this human beings is actually full of trouble. It is full of trouble, full of grief, and it is also fully combined with pain also. It is fully combined with pain also. So life of the mortals in this world is full of trouble, grief, and combined with pain. And he also say that if anyone has born in this earth, then they surely should die. Maybe they will die in the old age time, but they surely would die. Of course they will surely be die, because death is something which is common to all. So Buddha is saying that if a person is born, then he surely would be subjected to death, because it is a kind of nature. This is a nature of living beings. Buddha said that if a person is born, then he surely will be dying, because that is the nature of human beings, or we can say living beings. Not only human beings, every living being's nature is that if they born, then they surely will die. And for to proving this statement, he gave two examples also. The first example is of the ripe fruit. Ripe fruit is the fruit which is actually fully grown fruit, and we all know the ripe fruit as something which is actually in the danger of falling off. Similarly, mortals, that we human beings, if we are born, then we are in the danger of death, like earth. And another example, the second example that he is given of the earthen vessels. Earthen vessels are the vessels which is made up of the mud, clay and all, and they are the earthen vessels end is that when they are getting broken up. Similarly is the life of mortals also. Whether it is a young person, whether it is an adult person, whether it is a fool person, or whether it is a wise person, all would fall under the power of death. He says that whether let it be a young person, let it be a adult person, let it be a fool or a wise person, all of them would actually fall in the power of death. All would subject means it actually means likely to be affected by death. So all the persons, whether he is born, then he surely would die. That what Buddha actually says. Let us see what Buddha actually says after that. Of those who overcome by death depart from life. A father cannot save his son, nor kinsman, their relation. Mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore, the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. So Buddha says that no one can save a person from death. Let it be a father. Father cannot save his son being dead. Or kinsman is the relationship, or relatives we can say. Kinsman is we can say it's the relatives. So a father cannot save his son nor his relatives. And people would actually, when anyone die, we relatives would cry on and cry on. When they are crying on and crying on at the same time, lot of human beings are actually being dead. Okay, like an ox which is subjected to slaughter. Now it is also said that the world is full of death and decay. As I told you, if anyone is born, then they will surely be die. They surely would form the decaying matter. So it says that the world is fully with decay and death. So the wise people that who knows everything, they should not grieve, they should not become sad, they should not sit on weeping, because the wise people would, after knowing the terms of the world, they should not grieve. Now let us see what he said after this. Not from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. On the contrary, his pain will be greater and his body will suffer. He will make himself sick and pale, yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. He who seeks peace should draw out of the arrow of lamentation, complaint, and grief. He who has drawn out the arrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. He who has overcome all the sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. Now, what he is saying actually is that, in order to obtain peace, people think that they have to weep, they have to grieve. Weep means to cry a lot, to be sorrow. Grieving means to cry, to become very sad. Then only they think that they will get peace, but it is not the truth. In order to get the peace, we should not be, we should not sit on weeping. We should not grieve. If you're doing that, if you're weeping and grieving, if anyone had died, it would actually increase. It would actually increase our suffering, our body suffering. It will actually make us more sick and pale. But the dead person would not be saved because of our lamentation. Because of our lamentation means because of our sorrow, the dead person would not be saved, right? So what he's saying that in order to obtain peace, we should actually take ourselves. We have to draw out the lamentation, complaint, and grief. We have to quit our sorrow, we have to quit our grief and complaints, and we have then if we quit all our lamentation, complaint, and grief, then only we will be able to get the peace of mind. But Buddha says that in order to get peace of mind, we should draw out all the lamentation, all the complaint and grief. Means don't sit weeping and grieving. We have to, get rid of our sorrow. Try to overcome our sorrow. That will be we have that should we have to do actually. We have to overcome the sorrow. That is what Buddha is trying to do. Then only we will be able to get peace of mind. Then only we will be able to overcome our sorrow, and then only we will be able to be free from sorrow also. And in that case, we will be blessed. So this is what the chapter, the sermon at Benares, is actually talking about. And this particular chapter's source is the Betty Renshaw values and voices. So this is all about this chapter, the sermon at Benares. I hope you understand this chapter clearly, as well as clearly. If you have any doubt, please make sure to write that down on the comment section below. So I will come up with another topic. Till then, take care and bye. Thank you.